Good morning.
Good morning.
Today, for our opening hymn, we're doing the song from the Grinch, Welcome Christmas. The words are on the back of your bulletin. Please rise in body or spirit and join in for Welcome Christmas. I hate Christmas. I hate the faked joy. I hate the stupid music. I hate the wrapped up toys. I hate Christmas. I hate the color scheme. Black and orange are much better than simple red and green. I hate Christmas. The need to buy things for people you kind of like so they do not question you why, because that's the problem. The expectation, when it should be surprise, impromptu elation. The reason for the season is a gift you don't deserve. But if you decide to not abide, you've got quite the nerve. The financial obligation, the yearly expectation, to shed money like a pine tree's needles when deep down inside us we all feel the same thought. There's other things I could use this money for. This is the time of joy and cheer. Compared to other times of year, you realize you could keep doing this. These feels you like can keep going, just don't stop. The Grinch didn't like Christmas. He hated the joy because he knew those who's when he was a boy. They sang and they danced with all of their kin, but they bullied and shamed him because of his skin. The Grinch knew it was fake. He knew it was not real, so of course no remorse when he chose to steal. But he did a good thing for all those deluded who's, because Christmas can be any time you choose. You don't need gifts. There's no need for trees. The music can be muted. Turn off the TVs. Christmas is the joy we share. Remove the stuff, and it's still there. Good morning.
Good morning.
Welcome to Holston Valley Unitarian Universalist Church. I am Bradley, and I'm your service leader for today. As we begin today, I want to remind you to please silence your cell phones. Our guest speaker today is Gordon Gibson. Reverend Gibson is a Unitarian Universalist minister who chose Knoxville as his retirement home after serving congregations in Massachusetts, Mississippi, and Indiana. He is the author of the Skinner House book, Southern Witness, Unitarians and Universalists in the Civil Rights Era. Gordon and his wife, Judy, were among the co-founders of the Living Legacy Project, which takes people on civil rights pilgrimages and produces social justice webinars. Today, let's go ahead and light our chalice. We work together as a church to transform ourselves, our community, and our world by sharing love, pursuing justice, and seeking wonder. Second time. It'll work out. We welcome you, old friends and new, young and old. You are an essential part of our celebration today. Whether today is your first or your thousandth Sunday with us, we are stronger because of your presence. We are one people of many beliefs, many origins, sexualities, and genders. We are all growing, all learning, all loved. Just as you are welcome here. Our special music today is an obvious choice, given today's
You're a mean one, Mr. Grinch. You really are a heel. You're as cuddly as a cactus. You're as charming as an eel, Mr. Grinch. A bad banana with a greasy black peel. You're a monster, Mr. Grinch. Your heart's an empty hole. Your brain is full of spiders. You've got it in your soul, Mr. Grinch. I wouldn't touch you with a 9.5-foot pole. You're a vile one, Mr. Grinch. You have termites in your smile. You have all the tender sweetness of a seasick crocodile, Mr. Grinch. Given the choice between the two of you, I'd take the seasick crocodile. You're a foul one, Mr. Grinch. You're a nasty, wasty skunk. Your heart is full of unwashed socks. Your soul is full of gunk, Mr. Grinch. The three words that best describe you are as follows, and I quote: stink, stank, stunk. You're a rotter, Mr. Grinch. You're the king of sinful thoughts. Your heart's a dead tomato splotch with moldy purple spots, Mr. Grinch. Your soul is an appalling dump heap, overflowing with the most disgraceful assortment of deplorable rubbish imaginable, mangled up in tangled up knots. You nauseate me, Mr. Grinch, with a nausea super nos. You're a crooked, dirty jockey, and you drive a crooked horse, Mr. Grinch. You're a three-decker sauerkraut and toadstool sandwich with arsenic sauce.
That was not planned. Come to this community with all that you are. Your joys and your concerns are welcome here. We share our moments of joys and sorrows with us through using these candle cards with us in person or by emailing Reverend Tiffany at minister@hvuuc.org with the words candle card in the subject line. Please make sure to indicate whether or not you would like the card to be read aloud in the service, which is still being broadcast publicly on YouTube. I have no cards today, and so we're just going to go ahead and begin.
So, we've already heard a bit about the Grinch. But let's go back to the original source here. I realized, looking at this and the copyright date, this story is even older than I am. And it ages well. I've always enjoyed this story, but thinking about it and what we might do with it today, I went to a slightly deeper level, but that we'll wait for that. That's the sermon. For now, Dr. Seuss. Every Who down in Whoville liked Christmas a lot, but the Grinch, who lived just north of Whoville, did not. The Grinch hated Christmas, the whole Christmas season. Now, please don't ask why. No one quite knows the reason. It could be his head wasn't screwed on quite right. It could be, perhaps, that his shoes were too tight. But I think that the most likely reason of all is his heart is 2 sizes too small. But whatever the reason, his heart or his shoes, he stood there on Christmas Eve, hating the Whos, staring down from his cave with a sour, Grinchy frown at the warm lighted windows below in the town. For he knew every Who down in Whoville beneath was busy now, hanging a mistletoe wreath. And they're hanging their stockings, he snarled with a sneer. Tomorrow's Christmas. It's practically here. Then he growled with his Grinch fingers nervously drumming. I must find some way to keep Christmas from coming. For tomorrow, he knew, all the Who girls and boys would wake bright and early. They'd rush for their toys, and then, oh, the noise. The noise, 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 noise. That's one thing he hated. The noise, 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 noise. Then the Whos, young and old, would sit down to a feast. And they'd feast. And they'd feast. And they'd feast, 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 feast. They would feast on Who pudding and rare Who roast beast, which was something the Grinch couldn't stand in the least. And then they'd do something he liked least of all. Every Who down in Whoville, the tall and the small, would stand close together with Christmas bells ringing. They'd stand hand in hand, and the Whos would start singing. They'd sing, and they'd sing, And they'd sing, 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 sing. And the more the Grinch thought of the Who Christmas Sing, the more the Grinch thought, I must stop this whole thing. Why, for 53 years I've put up with it now. I must stop this Christmas from coming. But how? Then he got an idea, an awful idea. The Grinch got a wonderful, awful idea. I know just what to do, the Grinch laughed in his throat, and he made a quick Santa Claus hat and a coat. And he chuckled and clucked. What a great Grinchy trick! With this coat and this hat, I look just like St. Nick. All I need is a reindeer. The Grinch looked around, but since reindeer are scarce, there was none to be found. Did that stop the old Grinch? No, the Grinch simply said, if I can't find a reindeer, I'll make one instead. So he called his dog Max. Then he took some red thread and he tied a big horn on the top of his head. Then he loaded some bags and some old empty sacks on a ramshackle sleigh, and he hitched up old Max. Then the Grinch said, "Get up!" And the sleigh started down toward the homes where the Whos lay a snooze in their town. All their windows were dark, quiet snow filled the air. All the Whos were all dreaming sweet dreams without care. When he came to the first little house on the square, "This is stop number 1, the old Grinchy Claus hissed, and he climbed to the roof, empty bags in his fist. Then he slid down the chimney, a rather tight pinch, but if Santa could do it, then so could the Grinch. He got stuck only once, for a moment or two. Then he stuck his head out of the fireplace flue, where the little Who stockings all hung in a row. These stockings, he grinned, are the first things to go. Then he slithered and slunk with a smile most unpleasant around the whole room, and he took every present. Pop guns and bicycles, roller skates, drums, checkerboards, tricycles, popcorn, and plums. And he stuffed them in bags. Then the Grinch, very nimbly, stuffed all the bags, one by one, up the chimbley. And he slunk to the icebox. He took the Who's feast. He took the Who pudding. He took the roast beast. He cleaned out that icebox as quick as a flash. Why, that Grinch even took the last can of Who hash. Then he stuffed all the food up the chimney with glee. And now, grinned the Grinch, I will stuff up the tree. And the Grinch grabbed the tree and he started to shove when he heard a small sound like the coo of a dove. He turned around fast and he saw a small Who, little Cindy Lou who was not more than 2. The Grinch had been caught by this tiny Who daughter who'd got out of bed for a cup of cold water. She stared at the Grinch and said, "Santa Claus, why? Why are you taking our Christmas tree? Why?" But you know, that old Grinch was so smart and so slick. He thought up a lie, and he thought it up quick. "Why, my sweet little tot," the fake Santa Claus lied, "there's a light on this tree that won't light on one side. So I'm taking it home to my workshop, my dear. I'll fix it up there, then I'll bring it back here." And his fib fooled the child. Then he patted her head, and he got her a drink, and he sent her to bed. And when Cindy Lou Who went to bed with her cup, he went to the chimney and shoved the tree up. Then the last thing he took was the log for their fire. Then he went up the chimney himself, the old liar. On their walls he left nothing but hooks and some wire. And the one speck of food that he left in the house was a crumb that was even too small for a mouse. Then he did the same thing to the other Who's houses, leaving crumbs much too small for the other Who's mouses. It was 15:15 dawn, all the Who's still abed, all the Who's still a snooze, when he packed up his sled, packed it up with their presents, the ribbons, the wrappings, the tags, and the tinsel, the trimmings, the trappings. 3,000 feet up the side of Mount Crumpet, he rode with his load to the tip-top to dump it. Pooh-pooh to the Who's, he was Grinchishly humming. They're finding out now that no Christmas is coming. They're just waking up. I know just what they'll do. Their mouths will hang open a minute or two. Then the Who's down in Whoville will all cry, "Boo-hoo!" "That's a noise," grinned the Grinch, "that I simply must hear." So he paused. The Grinch put his hand to his ear, and he did hear a sound rising over the snow. It started in low, then it started to grow, but the sound wasn't sad. Why, this sound sounded merry. It couldn't be so, but it was merry, very. He stared down at Whoville. The Grinch popped his eyes. Then he shook. What he saw was a shocking surprise. Every Who down in Whoville, the tall and the small, was singing without any presents at all. He hadn't stopped Christmas from coming. It came. Somehow or other, it came just the same. And the Grinch, with his Grinch feet ice cold in the snow, stood puzzling and puzzling. How could it be so? It came without ribbons. It came without tags. It came without packages, boxes, or bags. And he puzzled 3 hours till his puzzler was sore. Then the Grinch thought of something he hadn't before. Maybe Christmas, he thought, doesn't come from a store. Maybe Christmas, perhaps, means a little bit more. And what happened then? Well, in Whoville they say that the Grinch's small heart grew 3 sizes that day. And the minute his heart didn't feel quite so tight, he whizzed with his load through the bright morning light, and he brought back the toys and the food for the feast. And he himself, the Grinch, carved the roast beast. Now, I've been reading that story for many years. And this year, I got a fresh angle on it. How would the story have been different if the Grinch had been raised Unitarian Universalist? There he was, up Mount Crumpet. He had hated Christmas for 53 years, a miserable individual. He had hit middle age with a total absence of the values that we try to teach in religious education, values we try to live by in our congregations and in our everyday lives. I'm glad that by the end of the story, he had changed. He'd found some positive values and behaviors. But it had taken him 3 hours of puzzling with his feet frozen cold. Imagine if he had grown up in a home with Unitarian Universalist values. If he had had a Unitarian Universalist community like this one to nurture him. Being raised Unitarian Universalist, he could have been happy, reasonably happy, years earlier. Let's look at some of our proclaimed values that he missed out on, but finally began to grasp. The inherent worth and dignity of every person. He thought he had enough worth to make decisions for everybody, which sort of diminished any sense that anybody else had much in the way of inherent worth. Only his worth and dignity mattered to him. Interdependence, the interdependent web of all existence of which we are a part. The only web or framework or scaffolding that mattered to the Grinch was whatever related to or supported him. Justice, equity. For the Grinch, those weren't important. Justice for him, by his standards. equity? The who's didn't matter. His rules, his advantage, his benefit. Pluralism. Yeah. We value pluralism. We're enriched by having all sorts of different viewpoints that we can share. Old self-centered Grinch couldn't believe that someone else mattered as much as he himself did. He couldn't believe that someone else might have ideas that might be sufficiently worthwhile that he should pay some attention to them. Generosity. Opposite of generosity. Generosity for himself, but stinginess for others. That was really quite all right. Yeah, others didn't matter. Especially if generosity for others offended him. And love. Love? No. Love implied that others have worth comparable to one's own. For the Grinch, nonsense. Now, as I was thinking about it, I realized this has some relevance for us today. We seem to me to be living in a society that has a lot of people who follow rather Grinchy values. They even try to legislate those values. They look at a lot of people as having less worth and dignity than they themselves do. Pluralism strikes them as nonsense because they know what's right, even if some other people weirdly believe otherwise. So they know what books should be in our library, what forms our families should take, what actually makes society safe, how we should relate to the rest of the world. Justice means to them that they get their way, even if it inconveniences or hurts some others, or maybe even ignores a few laws that have been around for dozens or hundreds of years. Yes, I fear that there are some all too real, very non-fictional people who live by very Grinchy values and are trying to force those values on us. So, that can be depressing, but it needs to be energizing. It needs to be energizing. This makes it all the more important for us to voice our Unitarian Universalist values, all the more important for us to visibly live by our Unitarian Universalist values. There are a lot of people who need to be made aware that there's a healthier, happier, religiously appropriate way to live. The world needs us to say and show, you don't have to live Grinchishly. There is a better way.
Thank you so much for that. That was really, really nice. Let's go ahead and extinguish the chalice now. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts and share with all the world. It won't die. There's a metaphor in that somewhere. I would just go firmly on it, airtight. Snuff out the light, snuff out the light. Okay. Let's do some announcements. Thank you for being with us today. There will be no RE for the next 2 weeks. Sunday, December the 24th, Christmas Eve, and Sunday, December the 31st, New Year's Eve, no RE. At this time, I'd like to invite Alesha up to announce our Pancakes and Jam celebration.
Hello. 2 weeks from now will be one of the most beloved services for me and for a lot of other people, I think. It's going to be Pancakes and Jam. If you don't already know what that is or you just need a reminder, we're going to have a big pancake breakfast and hear from all of our musicians and maybe some poetry or whatever talents people have to offer. The Macho group is the men's group here. They usually do the pancake cooking in the kitchen and stuff. If you want to help with that, if you identify as male and you want to help with that, you can email macho@hvuuc.org, or you can talk to my dad, Doug Chaffin. If you want to perform, if you're a musician or a poet or whatever, you can talk to me, you can talk to Rosemary Kleski, or you can email pancakesandjam@hvuuc.org. And then afterwards, we will have just sort of an open jam session where anybody can just improvise and do whatever you want. And that'll tentatively wrap up around 12:30, but if anybody's still going, nobody's going to be forced to stop. We can hang out and have fun as much as we want. Hope to see you there.
Thank you, Alesha. You can learn more about the many opportunities for fellowship, justice work, and working together by visiting our website, hvuuc.org, and checking out our news and events section. As you all have seen already, the Grinch was able to make a surprise appearance. If you are a child and would like a candy cane, the Grinch is more than willing to give you one during coffee hour in the Fred Ballroom, so enjoy that. Our choir is going to come back up here to lead us in our closing hymn, and this is also when we will pass out the offering plate. The contributions that you make during the offering supports the ways that we care for each other within this community, and also gives us the resources we need to stretch out beyond these walls and make a positive impact in the world. If you're making a pledge payment, please mark it as such. And thank you so much for your contributions. This hymn is number 123. Spirit of Life in your gray hymnal. 1, 2, 3.
let the horizon of our minds include all people. The great family here on earth with us. Those who have gone before and left to us the heritage of their memory and of their works. And those whose lives will be shaped by what we do or leave undone. Amen.